the methodologies of meditation or Buddhism are about destroying ego or collapsing ego, or seeing through ego or transcending ego, that somehow the ego is the bad guy. Ego is not the problem. Ego is a necessity. What is ego? Ego is just the mediating factor between outer and inner, the mediating factor between the unconscious and the external world. You need an ego, you need a moderator, you need a portal in which outer and inner meet. The ego is not a problem. All of you actually have a personality that's distinct to you. They distinguish us from each other. The problem is not the ego. The problem is the level of fixation and over-identification imbued in the ego. That the problem is if the ego is too narrow and the unconscious is sending us signals for expansion and we resist. The problem is that the ego may have been partly a micromanaging apparatus or adaptive strategy, and then when you hit midlife, something else is required of you. The world needs you in a different way, and you're stuck. You are confined by ego. It's not the ego, it's the constriction. The constriction, maybe the Buddhist term for that would be grasping. So they have this word in Sanskrit, atmagraha, the soul or the self, or we could say the ego grasping. The grasping is the emphasis of the problem, not the ego. Do you follow? It's the grasping, or the confinement, or the identification, or the rigidity, or the arrest and development, or the fixation, that energetic tight fist, this is me, and everything else to the exclusion. That's the problem. The ego is not the problem. You need an ego. In fact, you will go on a journey to expand ego. You will go into the netherworld. You will go into the labyrinth. You will leave temporarily ego behind. You will leave that narrow bit of real estate behind. And on your return journey, having faced trial and found treasure, where is it that you return, if not to the ego? But the return journey to the ego is an expansion of the ego. It makes it more flexible. It makes it more malleable. It introduces something new to it that creates more wholeness and more integration. The parameters shift. The boundaries shift. There's more inclusion, and there's more flexibility going forward. So what we want is a more expanded ego that has flexibility. That flexibility is like all-wheel drive in a vehicle. It allows you to go to mountaintops. It allows you to descend into waters. It allows you to take on different weather conditions.